Nancy Guthrie disappearance continues to generate questions, and a new account from a neighbor is now drawing attention online. According to a report published today, a neighbor who lives near Annie Guthrie and her husband, Tommaso Cioni, in Tucson, Arizona, reportedly told self-styled investigator Jonathan Lee Riches that the FBI visited her home once during the investigation. The neighbor also reportedly said she saw Cioni taking out trash and recycling on numerous occasions after Nancy Guthrie disappeared. But there is an important warning before we go further. These are claims attributed to a neighbor and shared by an online investigator. They have not been independently confirmed by law enforcement, and they should not be treated as evidence that Cioni committed a crime. Nancy Guthrie, the 84-year-old mother of Today's Show co-anchor Savannah Guthrie, disappeared from her Tucson home in early February. Authorities have treated the case as an apparent abduction, and the investigation has involved the Pima County Sheriff's Department and the FBI. So why is this neighbor's account receiving so much attention? Let's go back to the timeline. On January 31, Nancy Guthrie spent the evening at the home of her daughter Annie and son-in-law Tommaso Cioni. Authorities say Cioni later drove Nancy back to her own home. He reportedly waited until she was inside before leaving. Her garage door closed at approximately 9:50 p.m. The following morning, Nancy failed to appear for church. Concern quickly grew among family and friends. When relatives arrived at her home, Nancy was missing. Authorities later identified several disturbing pieces of evidence connected to the disappearance. Her doorbell camera was disconnected at approximately 1:47 a.m., and investigators later recovered footage showing a masked individual at the property. Her pacemaker monitoring system also stopped communicating around 2:28 a.m. The FBI subsequently released images and video of a person investigators described as being of interest in the apparent abduction. The individual was seen wearing a mask and gloves and carrying a backpack. Investigators asked the public for information that could help identify the person. Then came another significant development. Authorities learned that the masked individual appeared to have visited Nancy's home before the night she disappeared. CBS News reported that a law enforcement source confirmed that an image showing the person without the backpack had been captured by the Nest doorbell camera sometime before February 1. Exactly how long before the disappearance that earlier visit occurred remains unclear. That detail has fueled speculation that whoever abducted Nancy may have known the property or observed the home beforehand. But the latest neighbor account introduces a completely different question. The neighbor reportedly told the online investigator that FBI agents visited her home once. She also reportedly described seeing Tommaso Cioni taking out trash and recycling numerous times after Nancy disappeared. For people following this case, that naturally raises questions. Why would investigators visit this particular neighbor? What were they asking about? Were they looking for security camera footage? Were they asking about unusual activity in the neighborhood? Or was the visit simply part of the extensive neighborhood canvassing that authorities conducted during the investigation? At this point, we do not know. There is no confirmed public evidence showing that the FBI's visit to the neighbor was connected specifically to Cioni's trash activity. And there is another crucial point. Cioni has not been publicly identified by authorities as the person responsible for Nancy's disappearance. In fact, Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos previously said that Nancy's family had cooperated extensively with investigators and that the family members were cleared as suspects. That makes it extremely important not to turn ordinary observations into conclusions. Taking out trash, recycling, or performing normal household activities does not by itself establish criminal behavior. At the same time, in a disappearance case this serious, investigators naturally examine timelines, movements, surveillance footage, and other potentially relevant information. Nancy's case has generated enormous public interest partly because there are still unanswered questions surrounding the hours after she was last seen. Authorities have said the circumstances at Nancy's home were concerning and consistent with an apparent abduction. Investigators have searched properties, examined digital evidence, and reviewed surveillance footage. The FBI has also sought information about the masked individual captured on camera. There has also been concern about misinformation surrounding the case. The investigation has attracted online commentators and amateur investigators, some of whom have traveled to Tucson or attempted to conduct their own investigations. Reporting has warned that these activities can interfere with residents and potentially complicate an active investigation. That is why the latest neighbor claim needs to be handled carefully. It is interesting because it provides another glimpse into what residents may have observed during the investigation, but it is not proof of wrongdoing. The biggest question remains the same: where is Nancy Guthrie? Months after her disappearance, authorities continue seeking information that could help explain what happened to her and where she may be. The masked individual seen near Nancy's home remains a central part of the public investigation. And the fact that authorities later learned the person may have appeared at Nancy's home before the disappearance adds another layer to an already complicated case. As for the neighbor's claim about the FBI visit and Cioni taking out trash numerous times, investigators have not publicly established that those observations demonstrate anything criminal. For now, they remain allegations and observations that have become part of the growing public conversation around the case, and that distinction matters. In a case involving a missing elderly woman and an active federal investigation, speculation can spread extremely quickly. But the answers will ultimately have to come from verified evidence, forensic findings, surveillance footage, witness testimony, and the investigators working the case. Nancy Guthrie's family and supporters continue to hope for answers. If you're following this case, remember that credible information should come from law enforcement or reliable reporting rather than unverified social media claims. If you enjoyed this update, please follow the channel, like this video, subscribe for more breaking news and Nancy Guthrie case updates, and comment below with your thoughts. What do you think about the latest neighbor account? Could the FBI's visit simply have been part of routine neighborhood questioning, or do you think investigators were following a specific lead? Thank you for watching, and please remember, Nancy Guthrie is still a real person at the center of this investigation, and verified information matters.